The wrong woman can wreck your life, not in one explosive scene that makes a good story. More often, it happens quietly through slow damage you barely notice while it's happening. Your focus slips, your routines collapse, your money leaks away in little ways that add up. Your confidence hits you explain away. Your friendships get neglected, your standards get watered down. And then one day, you look up and realize years move forward while you move backward. And here's the part most men don't want to admit. A lot of men don't lose because they're weak. They lose because they ignore patterns early, call it love, and keep investing until leaving feels like failure. They confuse chemistry with character. They confuse attention with loyalty. They confuse comfort today with security tomorrow. This isn't a speech to bash women. Women aren't the enemy. Your lack of boundaries is. Your hunger for validation is. Your fear of being alone is. Your willingness to accept confusion because you don't want conflict is. The point of this is protection, protecting your time, your peace, your mission, and your future family, if that's what you want one day. So I'm going to walk you through 7 types of women you should never date, not because they're bad people in some cartoon way, but because the patterns they bring are expensive. I'm going to give you the behaviors that show up early, the mental traps that keep men stuck, how these relationships typically play out, and what a disciplined man does instead. Because your life is built on the decisions you repeat. And dating isn't a side quest. It's one of the biggest leverage points in your entire future. Let's begin. 1. The liar by omission. This one is dangerous because it doesn't look like lying at first. She doesn't always tell you something false. She just doesn't tell you what matters. She gives partial truth, carefully edited truth, a version of reality that keeps her looking clean and keeps you moving forward without having full information. In the beginning, you won't see it as a problem because the vibe is good. The attraction is strong. The conversations are smooth. She seems sweet. You feel chosen. Your guard drops. But slowly, something starts to feel off. Not a loud alarm, more like a low buzzing in the background. You ask direct questions and somehow get answers that sound complete but aren't. You try to understand her past, her situation, her relationships, her boundaries, and she answers in a way that gives you just enough to stop asking. Then the timeline shifts. A detail changes. A name appears late. A small fact shows up weeks later, like it was never important. And that's the trap. When truth comes late, it doesn't land as truth. It lands as betrayal. Because it wasn't an accident. It was a decision. And when you react, notice the move. She doesn't focus on what she hid. She focuses on your reaction. She labels you instead of addressing the issue. You're overthinking. You're insecure. Why are you interrogating me? I can't be with a man who doesn't trust me. That's not maturity. That's misdirection. A mature woman can be private without being slippery. She can set boundaries without playing confusion games. She can say, "That's personal and I'm not ready to share yet," without altering the story every time you ask. Omission isn't, "I forgot." Omission is, "I didn't tell you because I didn't want you making a decision with full information." And here's the reality. If she's comfortable doing that early, while she's still trying to impress you, it doesn't get better later. It gets more advanced. Because the more invested you become, the less power you have to walk away, and the more incentive she has to manage your perception. Why do men fail here? Because they see inconsistency and try to compensate. They become more patient, more understanding, more cool. They tell themselves she'll open up later. But later is when you're already attached. Later is when your ego is tied to the relationship. Later is when leaving feels like admitting you misjudged her. A disciplined man doesn't need every detail of someone's life on day one, but he does require honesty. He pays attention to clarity. He watches whether someone communicates straight or makes him chase the truth. Because if you can't build on reality, you're building on sand. 2. The transactional dater. This type doesn't date with her heart first. She dates with a calculator. She isn't asking, is he a good man? She's asking, what can he do for me? And how fast can I get it? She measures you by output. She ranks you by what you provide. And she treats affection like a reward system. Now listen carefully. Providing is not the problem. A masculine man provides naturally. A man who's building something will often enjoy taking care of his woman. The issue is the spirit behind it. A healthy woman appreciates your effort. A transactional woman feels entitled to it. You'll feel it in the tone. Conversations start sounding like invoices. The warmth appears when spending appears. Respect becomes something you earn through giving, not something you receive because you're a man living by principle. It's not always direct demands. Sometimes it's hints, expectations, pressure disguised as just saying. I like men who handle things. I'm used to a certain standard. My ex never let me worry about money. I just want to feel taken care of. Then, if you don't meet the expectation, the energy changes. She becomes colder, distant, irritated not because you did something wrong, but because you didn't perform the role she assigned you in her mind. And then come the ego traps. A real man would. If you wanted to, you would. Other men don't struggle with this. A lot of men fall for that because they don't want to look incapable. They don't want to be labeled weak, so they start proving themselves, not realizing they're stepping into a contract. And once you accept the contract, it never ends, because it was never about the one thing she asked for. It's about the pattern, affection tied to what you provide. That drains a man in a particular way, not just financially, but spiritually. You start feeling like you're paying to be treated well. You start resenting your own generosity. You become suspicious, guarded, bitter. And then she uses your bitterness as proof that you're not the man she thought you were. A serious woman can enjoy nice things and still respect you when you're not spending. She can value provision without turning you into an ATM with feelings. She can be grateful, not entitled. Why do men fail here? Because they confuse expensive with high value. They think difficulty is proof. They think constant demands mean she's rare. No. High value is not expensive. High value is consistent. If her respect rises and falls with your spending, you're not in a relationship, you're in a subscription. 3. Single in public, taken in private. This one breaks men slowly because in private, she can be everything you want. She's affectionate. She's sweet. She calls you her man. She texts you all day. She cuddles you, claims you, makes you feel chosen. But outside, she's still available. Not always through words, through behavior. She avoids being seen with you. She dodges introductions. She keeps you out of her world. She posts her outfits, her nights out, her soft life. Her whole personality and your existence is missing like a deleted chapter. When you notice it, she doesn't address the pattern. She offers clean excuses. I'm a private person. I don't like people in my business. Why do you need to be posted? You're doing too much. Privacy is real, but secrecy is different. Privacy is protecting the relationship. Secrecy is protecting options. You can feel the difference in small moments. A private woman still acknowledges you to the people in her life. She still integrates you appropriately over time. She doesn't act like you're a liability. A secretive woman benefits from you, but won't stand beside you openly. She'll accept your time, your effort, your protection in private, but she won't claim you in public where accountability exists. And that does something to a man's mind. You start feeling like you're not enough. You start competing with ghosts. You start giving more, trying harder, upgrading yourself, hoping she'll finally treat you like you're worth being claimed. But the issue was never your worth, it was her intention. If she's proud to receive from you but uncomfortable being seen with you, you're not her man in the full sense. You're the man she benefits from while keeping her public identity open. Why do men fail here? Because they don't want to look controlling. They swallow their discomfort and call it maturity. They pretend it doesn't matter until it matters. Until they find out they were hidden for a reason they didn't want to admit. Because she wanted the security of you and the attention of being available. A disciplined man doesn't demand performance, but he does require alignment. If she wants the benefits of commitment, she must accept the responsibilities of commitment. 4. The one who weaponizes affection, sex, warmth, and silence. This one doesn't arrive screaming, it arrives smiling. At first, she's consistent, warm, affectionate, engaged. Then, over time, you notice the pattern. Love becomes conditional. When you're behaving how she wants, you get warmth. When you disagree, set a boundary, or assert yourself, the warmth disappears. Sometimes it's not even an argument, it's silence, coldness, distance that feels like punishment. She becomes emotionally unavailable to train you. You'll feel yourself trying to get back to the good version of her. You replay conversations. You self-correct. You apologize even when you didn't do anything wrong except speak up. That's conditioning. She's training you to associate boundaries with losing peace. And once that training works, you start choosing comfort over truth. You choose quiet over self-respect. You start shrinking. And a man who shrinks long enough becomes a version of himself he doesn't respect. He becomes reactive, uncertain, easily triggered. Then she points to his reaction as evidence that he's the problem. A mature relationship does not run on punishment. A mature woman communicates discomfort. She doesn't use intimacy like a remote control. Here's the dangerous part. Weaponized affection creates addiction. You start chasing good days the way a gambler chases wins. That's why men stay. Not because it's healthy, because intermittent reward keeps you hooked. Why do men fail here? Because silence triggers pride and anxiety. They chase, they explain, they overextend, they negotiate. And every time they do, they teach her the weapon works. A disciplined man does not beg for basic respect. He doesn't perform for love. He communicates clearly once, sets a boundary, and watches the response. Because you can't build a future with someone who trains you to fear speaking your truth. 5. The one with multiple providers, labeled as friends. This is one of the modern traps because someone can look single while being funded like they're in a relationship. One guy sends help sometimes. Another covers emergencies. Another pays for nails, hair, meals. Another handles transport. Another offers advice and support. She calls them friends. She calls it harmless. She calls it normal. But grown men don't consistently finance a woman's lifestyle for nothing. Money doesn't move like that without expectations, entitlement, emotional strings, or a door left open. Even if she swears nothing physical is happening, the deeper issue remains. She's comfortable receiving relationship level support without relationship level commitment. So, what happens when you become her man? You don't become the only provider, you become the main provider. The others stay in the background as backups, and the moment you hesitate, slow down, or say, not this time, she already has a network ready to fill the gap. That makes you replaceable. And if you're replaceable, respect becomes optional. Why do men fail here? Because they don't want conflict. They don't want to be the insecure guy. They accept a setup that quietly undermines them. A disciplined man doesn't need to control a woman's friendships, but he does need a woman who understands boundaries and honor. A woman who respects her relationship doesn't keep a roster of men providing relationship benefits. Because even if she calls them friends, the dynamic isn't friendship, it's leverage. 6. The dream seller. Future talk with no future behavior. This one is smooth because she doesn't beg. She markets. She gives you hope with big words. We'll build together. I see you as my husband. I've never met a man like you. You're different. And it feels good because men don't only want sex. Men want meaning. Men want purpose. Men want to build. Men want to feel chosen for who they are, not just what they do. So when she speaks in future tense, you invest more. More protection, more time, more money, more patience, more emotional labor. But the future is always coming and never arriving. The relationship stays undefined. The loyalty stays unclear. The effort stays one-sided. And every time you ask for structure, she flips it into emotion. Why are you rushing? Why can't you just trust me? I thought you loved me. Now you're scared to ask for clarity because asking makes you the villain. That's how men get trapped by being turned into the bad guy for wanting direction. Let me make it plain. Wanting clarity is not insecurity. Wanting alignment is not control. Wanting a plan is not weakness. A man building a life must be able to measure reality. Why do men fail here? Because they don't want to lose her. So they keep paying and hoping words become actions. But time doesn't turn words into actions. Character does. If she has to keep you attached with dreams, it's because the reality isn't strong enough to keep you. A disciplined man doesn't fall in love with potential. He respects potential, but he commits to patterns. 7. The attention addict. This type isn't always evil. Sometimes she's simply undisciplined, but she is dangerous for a man who values peace. Because she isn't loyal to you first. She's loyal to validation. She needs to feel wanted constantly. So even when she's with you, she behaves like she's still advertising herself. Flirty messages, innocent orbiters, male best friends with blurry boundaries, posting for thirst, keeping exes close just in case, doing things that look harmless on the surface but feel disrespectful when you understand intention. And the most frustrating part is how normal she tries to make it look. I'm just friendly. It's networking. You're insecure. You can't handle a confident woman. A confident woman is not the problem. A woman addicted to external validation is. A man can feel the difference between a woman who is social and a woman who is shopping for attention. A woman who respects you doesn't keep feeding the outside world a version of herself that says, "Come try your luck." She can be beautiful, outgoing, and confident, and still disciplined. Discipline is what separates confidence from chaos. Why do men fail here? Because they think they can outlove it. They think being a good man will be enough to make her settle down, but attention addiction doesn't settle down because you're good. It settles down when she has self control, and if she doesn't, you will always feel like you're sharing her with the world. Now let's zoom out because the types are important, but what matters even more is why men tolerate them. The mindsets that trap men. 1. I can fix it. A lot of men confuse leadership with rescue. Leadership is building and guiding. Rescue is trying to heal someone who refuses to heal. If she has patterns that damage relationships, your love will not magically rewrite her character. 2. I don't want to start over. Starting over is painful, but staying in the wrong situation is more painful because it costs time. Time is the one asset you never get back. 3. Maybe it will get better. Hope is not a strategy. Pay attention to what is, not what you wish. Patterns don't change because you tolerate them. They change because someone takes responsibility, and most people don't change inside comfort. 4. I don't want to look controlling. There's a difference between control and standards. Control is telling someone what to do. Standards are deciding what you will and won't accept. A man with standards isn't controlling, he's consistent. 5. I'm already invested. Investment is not a reason to continue. It's a reason to evaluate. If your investment is producing loss, the wise move is to cut the loss before it grows. What a disciplined man does instead. He moves with clarity, not desperation. He watches behavior, not speeches. He values peace as a sign of health, not boredom. He understands that love without respect becomes a prison. He doesn't beg for honesty, he requires it. He doesn't compete for a woman's attention. He chooses a woman who chooses him. He doesn't buy affection. He builds with someone who has gratitude and character. And he understands that boundaries are not punishment. Boundaries are protection. So here are practical principles to keep your future intact. 1. Require consistency early. Pay attention to whether her words, actions, and energy match over time. 2. Don't ignore discomfort. Your intuition is often your pattern recognition system. If something feels off, investigate it calmly. Clarity is not conflict. 3. Don't build a life with someone who creates confusion. Confusion is not romance. Confusion is instability. 4. Don't reward disrespect. If you keep giving while your standards are being violated, you are training her and yourself to accept less. 5. Choose character over chemistry. Chemistry without character is a fast road to regret. Now let me end where I started. This isn't about hating women. This is about respecting yourself. The wrong woman doesn't just waste your time. She drains your confidence. She distracts your mission. She slowly turns you into a version of yourself you don't respect, reactive, anxious, constantly proving, constantly negotiating your standards. So don't argue with red flags. Don't negotiate with patterns. Don't try to be the hero for someone committed to dysfunction. Walk away like a man who knows his value. Because the strongest men aren't the ones who can handle the wrong woman. The strongest men are the ones who recognize the wrong situation early, exit cleanly, and keep building their life with their peace intact. Your future deserves protection. Your time deserves respect. Your mind deserves stability. Choose accordingly.